Hello, welcome today to the Christian Construction Podcast. I'm Michael Lindsay, and I'm coming to you with a very different type of episode today. I'm here in my office, and I'm just recording something special that is on my heart, and something that my pastor asked me to do and run this through our social media here on the podcast. I want to start off, first of all, by reminding you that the Christian Construction Podcast is a ministry of the Love Valley Baptist Church, Pastor Barry Philbeck, and we're very thankful for our pastor and very thankful for our church. And today, I want to come to you concerning the need of a missionary, not just a missionary, but a friend of mine, someone that's very close to me, and a missionary that is sent out of our church, David Ballinger. David is a missionary. David and his family are missionaries doing church planting in the islands of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You may or may not know Brother David, but I want to give you a kind of some background on Brother David. So I've got a lot of pieces of paper and some things in front of me, and I'm going to give you a lot of things about him. I'm not going to be very long, maybe about 15 minutes, maybe 20 or so. Brother David is as I said, a friend of mine. We are actually related. Our wives are sisters, and so we're not only good friends, but we're also family. And then on top of that, we serve out of the same church together, and so I'm very thankful for that. But regardless of my friendship or even my kinship with Brother David, he is doing a great work in the place where God's put him at, and that's why I've come on here today in this particular episode to maybe give you some things to pray about. And if you're like our church, or if you're a part of a church that's like our church, we're always looking to invest in the ministry. We don't have a huge gross amount of money sitting around in bank accounts as a church. We are always taking what the people of God give, and we are reinvesting it in people and in missions and in the work of the Lord. And so I want to read a verse just to get started. Matthew chapter number 9, and in verse number 35, I want to read a few verses. The Bible says, "And Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them, because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd. Then saith he unto his disciples, The harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest, that he will send forth laborers into his harvest." I want to start right there today and just bring you some things concerning Brother David Ballinger. He's a man of God. He's a missionary. He's a family man. He is simply put, he's God's man. And he's been doing a great work down in those islands. Brother David has been a part of our church since 2012. He has been on the field since, I believe it was late 2014, maybe early 2015 when he got there, and has been very faithful in being there. Brother David and his wife Mackenzie, he has 4 children, Malachi, Katie, Emily, and Everly. Very sweet children, and if I remember right, in the 5 or 6 years that they've been on the islands, the only times they have come back have been related, have either been health related or to the birth of their children. They're dedicated, they're committed, that is the place where God wants them at, and that if it be God's will, they will die on that mission field serving the Lord in the place where God's put them at. Brother David, like any missionary right now, is under-supported, and he actually needs more of just regular support. But Brother David is in a place where he's able to take his ministry right now that God's given him to another level. He is down in the St. Vincent and Grenadines, and he is surrounded by 4 other islands. Brother David is currently living on Beckway. Around Beckway are some other islands: Kenawa, Meru, Union, and Mesquite. Brother David is living on one island, and he has 4 other islands in close proximity to him. One of the things that God put on Brother David's heart before he ever went down there, I remember in 2012 talking to Brother David about the fact that his goal, what he would like to do over time, is not just do a work on the island of Bequia, but to begin to circuit those other islands. As time has went by, God has provided some things to get all of that in preparation, so that he could, or set everything up so that he could begin to circuit those islands. Brother David's has a tent that he's had now for I guess some 4 years or so, something like that. He hadn't been down there just a couple years, and was able to buy a tent up here. Me and some men from the church actually went to get the tent and get it on a truck to ship it down to Florida, where it was then shipped across down to Bequia. Brother David's been using that tent on the island of Bequia, and his plan is to be able to take that tent and go island to island on a regular basis and have tent meetings on those islands as he's physically able to do so, while at the same time he's also hoping to establish works on those other islands. Now, let me give you some numbers, some things to take into consideration. For him to do what he would like to do without a boat, and that is the point of this whole video, is concerning the boat ministry, raising money to be able to buy a boat to circuit those islands. Without a boat, it would easily cost Brother David $500 a week to circuit those islands. While that does seem like, well, $500 a week, that's not really that big of a deal, but that's $500 a week just to circuit those islands. That's not including taking the tent. That's not including how much money he would have to invest in having a place on each of those islands for his family to sleep. That's not including the cost of food and meals and things like that, because he wouldn't be at his place. And so Brother David come to this conclusion of would it be more reasonable to maybe get a small boat and then circuit these islands and then have a place to stay excuse me, on each of those islands, or would it serve a better purpose to have a big enough boat to live on or to stay on when he was at these other islands, and then not have any stakes in the ground, so to speak, at those islands, except for the people that he's ministering to, and if they're able to have their own buildings and things of that nature. So Brother David has a great need. This boat is I don't really know how to pronounce it. I think it's pronounced it was a Leopard 37 catamaran. I'm going to post some pictures of what that is. When you see the boat, there are some skeptics out there who say, well, that's just a gross need and he's down there on a glorified vacation. You can think that all you want to, but there are several preachers, missionaries, men of God, other people who are just lay people who have been down there. They've seen the need. On those islands, yes, they look beautiful in pictures. They look great. They look wonderful. But on those islands, there is a side that is luxury. It's exotic. It is the lifestyles of the rich and famous, so to speak. But on the other side of that island are the people that live there. And those people are poor. Those people are people who don't really have a trade or a craft. Those are people who are living in poverty oftentimes. They don't make much money. If any, they don't make much money. A lot of them are just people who live off the land or live off of the fish out of the sea, so to speak. And so these are poor islands. These are not islands of people that are filthy rich. There are some rich parts to those islands, just like there's rich parts to here in America. But on those islands, there's not luxury on the part that Brother David's trying to reach. He's not trying to reach the vacationers. He can't really get to them because they're bordered off. He's trying to reach the people that live there with the gospel. He's shoulder to shoulder with them. He's hand to hand with them every day of his life. And so the need is for Brother David to try to reach those people where they're at. And for him to be able to do that, he's going to have to have a boat to do that. Now, let me give you a few things about this boat. This boat, somebody may say, why a boat? Because if Brother David has a boat, he can circuit these islands and go island to island to island. Imagine it like this. Right now, Brother David doesn't have a boat. So what does or what can he do with those people that where he's at right now? Well, he can minister to them. He can disciple them. And he's got a work that's established down there that's been established now since he got there for 6 years. And Brother David can minister to those people. And he might be with them at this point, maybe he's with them a couple of days a week. But if Brother David had a boat, he could take one of those days out of the week and he could go to that other island. He could go to Kenawa. And he can spend time on that island all day with those people and disciple them. The next day he could go to Meru and he could spend time on Meru. And then the next day he could go to Union and he could spend time on Union, discipling them. Then he could go to Mustique and he could be on Mustique all day, discipling those. And then he could be back at Beckway. And so the work that God's put Brother David in could do the work of 4 or 5 missionaries. Now think about this. He could do with regular support of one missionary. Let's just say, this is not his support number. Let's just say if he was supported for a total of $25,000 for the year, or let's just say a realistic number. A realistic number is $50,000. Let's say if he's supported at $50,000 for the year, if you had to put another missionary on each of those islands, that would be $250,000 a year going to 5 different missionaries. $50,000 a piece for each missionary, $250,000 a year. But with one man and a boat, he could save $200,000 a year in mission money. And he would be there to be able to go island to island. That's not saying that somebody else couldn't come along and minister on those islands. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that Brother David could do the work of 4 or 5 missionaries simply if he had a boat. And so why does he need a boat? To be able to circuit those islands and reach other people. And then not just to be able to circuit the islands, not just to reach more people, but also he could save money on regular expenses. When you're down there, there are certain things you can get on the island you live on, but to get other things, you may have to go to another island. He may have to go to St. Vincent. He may have to go to some other island close by to get particular supplies. Well, that may cost him. That may cost him a good bit. And it don't just cost him to take a ride from one island to the next. Now he's picked up some supplies. Now he has more weight. So now Brother David has to spend more money on something that he's already bought to bring it back over to the island that he lives on. Well, if he has his own boat, he can get on that boat and he can come and go to those islands as he pleases, as he wishes. He doesn't have to wait on a schedule. And so he is not only saving money, he's saving time as well. And so why a boat? So that he can circuit the islands, reach more people, and be able to use more of that money concentrated towards the ministry and not towards giving it to some ferry boat that he's having to pay to get him to and fro on the islands and cost more of God's money just to do the simple things that may be as simple as a part or something for groceries or something for the house they live in or something of that nature. And so that's why a boat. But why this type of boat? You're going to see the pictures of this boat and you're going to say, man, that's a big boat. Why does it need something like that? Well, think about it like this. Brother David is living on one island. It doesn't make sense for him to go to the other islands and also build a house or have a place, buy more property or rent more property, spend more money. It makes sense to just spend the money on a boat where he could sleep on that boat. It needs to be big enough for him to bring his family so that they could also sleep on that boat. It needs to be able to have a kitchen so that then they would be able to prepare their own food on that boat. And then finally, it needs to be big enough to put those poles and that tent on to haul it from one island to the next. And so this type of boat would be for he and his family to live on while they are docked up on one of the islands where they don't have a residence. So they live on Beckway. They go to Kenawa, and Brother David's doing a tent meeting. He loads the tent up. He loads his family up. They go to Kenawa. They get there. They set the tent up. He has the meeting all of that week, maybe a 2-week meeting there in Kenawa or Union or Mustique or Meru or wherever. And at nighttime, when the meeting's over, they go down to the boat that's docked up. That's where they sleep at. That's where they stay at. That's where they can take showers and prepare their food and all of that sort of thing. That's where they can do that all through the day. And then during the meeting, they can be up at the meeting. They can, do everything that they would normally do the week of a meeting on one of the other islands. And so it serves a purpose of being a movable residence, if you will, a mobile residence. And so it's for his family as they go to the other islands to be able to transport the tent. And then also you have different types of boats that have different types of engines and parts. this particular boat, while some other boat might be a better boat, one of the things that we have to take into consideration is how easy is it for Brother David to get parts for these boats. If something tears up or breaks, and it's bound to happen, something will. There will be repairs, there will be maintenance to be done on this boat, the engines, anything like that. It needs to be something that Brother David is confident that he can get parts to should something happen to the boat. And so these are important issues. These are things that I'm trying to answer some of the questions that some would ask and some have asked. And so Brother David is very particular about being sure to get a good quality boat while not being wasteful with God's money, but also being wise enough to understand that he needs to be able to get parts for that boat, and then all at the same time needing it to be a particular size so that he and his family can stay on that boat, and also a boat that is, they can save on fuel and not just be throwing money away on fuel. And so it's very important to Brother David to be wise with the money that God's people have given thus far to go towards the boat. Another issue, something someone else has asked is, well, what if something happens and Brother David is not able to carry on in the ministry, or God brings him back, or, who's to say he doesn't just take that boat and do whatever and take the money and put it in his pocket? Well, that's another issue that Brother David and Pastor Philbeck have talked through. And so that boat will be in the church's name to protect Brother David's testimony and to protect God's people's investment. And so this is not Brother David Ballinger's boat. This is a boat for the ministry that God has put Brother Ballinger in. And Brother Ballinger wants it that way, and Pastor Philbeck wants it that way, and that is to keep all parties accountable. And so these are just a few things. You may have some other questions. You may have some other comments or something to make. You feel free to send me a message here on our Facebook page, or I'm not afraid to give out my phone number, and you can text me or call me if you have any questions, and I'll give all of that information out here in just a few minutes at the end of this video. And so just in summary, Brother David's in the islands. He is surrounded by 4 other islands. He could circuit those islands, do the work of 5 missionaries if he had a boat. We're trying to raise money for that boat. Brother David is currently at $75,000. Now this is where I need to get into some particulars about this boat. A businessman contacted Brother Ballinger, and I don't want to say a lot about the businessman. He has had just some health issues, and he wants to use this as a means to be able to give back. And so we don't know the exact figure yet. This businessman is he's trying to make sure that he doesn't shoot his own self in the foot and get out of the boat what he needs to, so that he's not in a hole. I don't even know if this man is a Christian. I don't know if he's a believer. I just know that Brother Ballinger has been in contact with him, and Brother Ballinger is going to survey and take a look at the boat sometime in the next several weeks. That's the plan. This gentleman has said that he would sell the boat for no more, and it may be less than this before it's over with, but he's going to sell the boat around that $150,000 range. Right now, Brother David has $75,000, and you may say, well, $150,000, that's a lot of money. These boats are usually on up close to $1 million. Oftentimes, these boats are easily $1.5 million to $2 million, just depending on the time of year, the type of boat. This boat, brand new, may not be worth that much, but it is a very good boat. Seems to be in good quality. Again, Brother Ballinger's making arrangements to go up, take a look at it. But right now he's at $75,000. That's how much money Brother Ballinger has. Our church has given thousands upon thousands. People in our church have given thousands upon thousands. Some of you watching this video have given thousands of dollars. We had a church last week contacted Brother Ballinger. They're giving $5,000. $5,000. Hey, we're going to give towards the boat ministry. So here's our goal. From now to December, we would love to raise another $75,000. Now that sounds like an outrageous amount, but we have a big God, and $75,000 is nothing to God. Our church has given, is continuing to give. You might be a supporter You might be a supporting church. You might be someone who individually can give. I know a lot of folks are looking for tax write-offs and things at the end of the year for their businesses, and folks who do that, who pay attention to that sort of thing. This might be something that you're interested in. And what we're asking folks to do is prayerfully consider. It could be 15 churches giving $5,000. Well, that's $75,000 right there. It could be 30 churches giving $2,500. It could be 60 churches giving $1,250. However you dice it up and slice it, we know that God's people are able. One preacher said one time that the good news is we've already got the money. The bad news is it's still in the pockets of the people. But the truth of the matter is that we know that God has the money, and it's just a matter of the right person or persons letting God work through them to give to this ministry. Again, Brother David's a clean family man, loves God, has done great work, has had a goal and a mission from the time that he got down there to the islands to try to reach all of the islands over the course of time. And so Brother Ballinger is he's a real blessing, a great family. And so some of you may wonder, how do I give? Where do I give? Well, you can either give by contacting Macedonia World Baptist Missions. If you'll just type that into a search engine, something will come up. I can give you our information. Love Valley Baptist Church. Our mailing address is 2032 Bethlehem Road, Kings Mountain, North Carolina, 28086. Again, that's Love Valley Baptist Church, 2032 Bethlehem Road, Kings Mountain, North Carolina, zip code 28086. If you have any questions or concerns, you can call here at the church, 704-730-0075. You can email us, the church, Love Valley Baptist Church at yahoo.com, or you can call me personally, 704-734-7799. I'd be glad to take any calls or text, and I would be glad to answer any questions. We're very transparent in this process. Again, just trying to get the gospel out any way that we can, and this is a means of which that we can get the gospel out if God's people will help give to it. Let's see here. So you can give it through Macedonia World Baptist Missions. You can give it through Love Valley Baptist Church. You can also go to Brother David's website. He has a website, wimissions.com. wimissions.com. That stands for West Indies Missions. wimissions.com. And there's all kind of information about Brother David, his family, the boat ministry, the tent ministry, trying to expand in the place where God's put him at. And he has a great opportunity with the gentleman who has given him an opportunity to buy this boat. He has told Brother David, has asked him about, does he want a deposit? What does he want, just to get an idea? The gentleman has said, look, we're not going to worry about a deposit. You just work on trying to get the money up, and when you get a chance to come look at the boat, we'll start talking numbers. And so the gentleman seems to be very easy to work with. We're very thankful. He may see this video, and whoever you are, sir, we're very thankful for the opportunity to give Brother Ballinger a chance to purchase that boat. And then all of you that are watching, please prayerfully consider giving to this ministry. Again, it's a great need. It's a big need, but we have a big God. Brother David's got this verse been on his heart recently. 2 Corinthians 9:6 says, "He which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully." If you sow a little bit, then you're going to reap a little bit. But there are some people that can sow bountifully. You can sow a whole lot. And when you do that, you're going to reap a whole lot. And we're not into prosperity gospel and stuff like that. And what you reap may not be financial or monetary blessings, but there will be something that God intended for you to have. And you do reap when you sow. Again, I want to remind you about Matthew 9. Brother Stennett Ballou put it like this. Imagine Jesus comes into church on a Wednesday night, our normal prayer meeting night. And the only request that Jesus has, and by the way, this was the only request he ever asked of the disciples and the people around him. It's the only time he ever mentioned a prayer request publicly to these people. He asked them to pray that the Lord of the harvest would send forth laborers into the harvest. So imagine as we gather together in our midweek prayer meetings that Jesus, we take up prayer requests and Jesus is in the midst and he's sitting there, and somebody requests prayer for grandma, and somebody requests prayer for a child who is sick. Someone requests prayer for a lost loved one. And about that time, Jesus slips his hand up and says, pray that God would send somebody to go reach those lost souls. The next week we come back and there's another prayer request. Someone's got tests that they need to run. Someone has cancer. Someone has an issue of spiritual need in their life. And we're fixing to pray. And about that time, Jesus raises his hand again and says, please remember, pray that I would send forth laborers. Well, friend, here's the reality. God has sent forth some laborers. And there are some good people doing great works all around this world today. And Brother Ballinger is one of those people. You may not ever go. God may never call you. God may never have you cross the seas to go to a mission field. But God has given you and I the privilege to be able to give to those needs. And so I want to ask you, please, to prayerfully consider giving to David Ballinger and the boat ministry there as a part of the ministry down there in the islands. All right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Please consider this. Brother Ballinger's family is a blessing. My pastor wanted me to make this video, and I really hope that you will pray about it. We're about halfway there on our goal. Need to be at about 150,000. He's got a little over 75, almost 76,000. And so please prayerfully consider giving to the boat ministry. Thank you. You have a great day. Tune in next week here on the Christian Construction Podcast.